Thanks for staying tuned on Niger Delta today. Let's get right to it now. There have been in recent years controversies surrounding the Niger Delta region. When you talk about, there's a long list of queries when it comes to development professionals and critical Niger Delta stakeholders that centered on when you talk about the poor level of infrastructure and socio-economic development in the region. Now, some of these questions have been in terms of how successive governments can manage funds in such a way that it trickles down to all persons of the Niger Delta region, ensuring that the persons in this region benefit more from the rich resources that it has in the region. Well, I have with me here in the studio somebody who is indeed well-versed when it comes to the issues of lawmaking in the region. I'm talking about none other than the member representing Abak, Ika, Itimepo Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, the Green Chamber, Honorable Clement Jimbo. Honorable Jimbo, you're welcome on Niger Delta today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good afternoon.
A wonderful new year to every Nigerian.
It's indeed an honor to have you on the program today. Thank you for coming, and Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
Well, it's an interesting time to be alive, especially
Absolutely.
when we talk about the many events of 2024. There's been down times, there's been highs, there's been lows, and in all of this, there's something peculiar about Nigerians who always find a way to come out of whatever situation we find ourselves. We started with the fuel subsidy removal and the popular phrase, subsidy is gone. And then a lot of conversations trailed that. We talked about the different protests that were to take place in the nation. And somehow, Nigerians were still able to move past these different stages. Does this speak to the soul of what Nigerians represent? And when you look at 2024 and the things that played out, do you see positives coming out of 2024, which would lead us into a stronger front in 2025?
I agree with you completely. That is actually the core essence of being a Nigerian. We are very resilient. We are very, very resilient. If you look at what embodies an average Nigerian. Yes, a lot characterized the year that just ended about a few hours ago, 2024. Yes, some may describe the year that just ended as the bleakest of the years that Nigerians have to face. And I will agree, because since the creation of this planet and a region called Nigeria, we as a people have not experienced the kind of policies that the current administration has implemented in the course of leadership. Talking about the popular phrase, subsidy is gone. Obviously, that is what Nigerians have never experienced, because all our lives, we have been experiencing a situation in the petroleum sector where most of the petroleum products we consume as a nation are highly subsidized by federal government. The first time in the history of Nigeria that Nigerians have to wake up and realize the bread and butter they have been eating all their life, and tea and shawarma and fried rice with chicken and all that is gone. The president said, look, if you want to eat fried rice, you must know what it means to cultivate rice. If you want to eat chicken, you must know what it means to bring out the day and nurture the old tick to become the table size for you to eat. That the area of that government making everything available for you is gone. And that is very instructive, because if you look at it in practical terms, we were servicing our debt as a nation with over 98% of our revenue. And right now, the debt servicing has gone down to about 68%. That means we have gotten 30% of our revenue back to our purse for further development. That singular policy has culminated into the revamping of Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, after Dangote refinery had come on stream. As we speak, because of that singular policy, nobody is importing a liter of petroleum product into the country, meaning that we are becoming self-sustaining nation. We can produce, refine what we need and consume as a result of that singular policy. Yes, it may be painful. It is painful, but the deliverables that is beginning to come out of as a result of that policy is something Nigerians will be thankful to the president for the rest of our lives.
Indeed, indeed, Honorable. But then a lot of Nigerians, just before we move to other pertinent issues, a lot of Nigerians, like you've rightly put it, do not stand in agreement with some of the policies of President Bola Tinubu. Some of them outrightly say that it is indeed harsh. And even the president has concurred that his policies, though the deliverables may not be felt immediately, that if only Nigerians could be patient for a while, they'll begin to see the gains of these policies that have been laid out. But the questions that Nigerians ask is, how long must this patience endure? How long do we wait for the gains of these policies to begin trickling in?
I'll respond to that very issue that you've raised this way. Nigeria is a very big country with diverse interests. No matter how well thought a policy of a government is, everybody will not embrace it. That is the basic. No matter how good a leader is, everybody will not embrace your policy. Take the biblical example, Jesus Christ. He came to lay his life for us. But yet, it is not everybody till today, after over 2,000 years ago, still believe in him. There are people that still say that there is nothing like God. Even when they bought an aeroplane, fly in the sky, the aeroplane lands, and they come out safely, they are still oblivious on the fact that something is making sure that aeroplane does not fall into the ground like a bird. They are still oblivious on that fact. So, you don't bother about the number of people that are so insignificant, not in consonance with the policy that you have made. As a leader, what you should be focused in is, what do my people, the people, stands to benefit from this policy that you are churning out? Don't forget, in 2012, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan was the president of Nigeria. He made the same effort to remove fuel subsidy. But when people rose up, resisted him as a leader, he took a back seat and allowed the evil to continue. It is a great leader that will look at the policy and the effect of that policy positively on the nation for a very long time and do the needful. Let me land by saying this. If you have a child and the child is struck by malaria and this child is allergic to the nurse, to the needle of a nurse, and because of that fear, and you refuse to give the child an injection, anti-malaria, I can bet you with my 10 fingers and my 10 toes, give that child another 7 days, you will bury that child. But a good doctor gives him or her that injection for him to survive. When the president came on board, he saw clearly that we survive subsidy in our essential petroleum product. He has to take it away. That surgery has to be done for the country called Nigeria to survive. That is why right now we are so proud to have 650,000 barrels Dangote refinery up and doing. We are even exporting petroleum product to other countries. Warri refinery is up and running. Port Harcourt refinery is up and running. So what else are we talking about? Within the space of 1 year and 6 months. I think kudos should be given to Mr. President.
Okay. Sir, you made mention of the fact that our debt profile has reduced from 93 to 68.
Yes, 98 to 68.
From 98 to 68,
Absolutely.
yes. Okay, thank you very much. Now, as the chairman of the House Committee on National Planning and Economic Development, do you think there's going to be more reduction, and how is the committee working in alignment with all of these policies to ensure that happens?
No, fantastic. That is why 2025 is a fantastic year for me. As a lawmaker, I was inaugurated in 2023, June to be precise. I saw with the little knowledge exposure I had where the country was in terms of numbers. I've seen how that number drastically is improving in 2024. And I've equally seen the projections we are seeing or giving to the MDS in 2025. So, obviously, because look at the indices that we took into consideration in arriving at the budget of 2025 proposal when we were doing the debate, the extensive debate on the general principle of the budget. We are projecting the current inflation, which is at the rate of 36.4%, to reduce or drop to 15%. And it is realizable. We are equally projecting on the GDP to move to about 8%. It is realizable. And we are looking at ramping up our petroleum crude oil production, exploration, to over 2 million barrels per day is realizable. Now we are gradually getting up to 1.8, 1.9 million barrels. So with all these indices put together, there is no way Nigerians will not enjoy what I call the real dividends of democracy. Do not also forget the tax bills reform has gone through second reading in the Senate. It is yet to go through second reading in the House. And when we resume in the House, we are going to attack that bill effectively. And if you look at the merits that are embedded in this very bill, Nigerians are equally in for a major chunk of the benefits that this country holds for them.
All right, Uncle, Honorable Jimbo, just before we move to the tax reform bill that you just mentioned, which is, of course, another aspect that led to a lot of uproar within the polity. Let's talk about now with the budget of the 2025, and then the defense and security, we notice, has the largest chunk, Absolutely. About 4.91 trillion naira. Yes. And we have also the infrastructure at 4.06 trillion naira. We talk about education at 3.5 trillion naira. What were those steps that led to arrival of these figures? Why was defense having the largest chunk? Nigerians are asking, why not education? Why are we not focusing more on education? What are those indices that led to this arrival at the figure that defense and security should get the largest chunk?
Yes, we equally asked the same question, and we got answers. And I will share the answers with Nigerians, because part of my job as a legislator is to sensitize, educate my constituents on what led to the thinking, or the thinking behind every action that resulted in what they are reading on the pages of newspaper. Defense and security has about 4.91 trillion naira. We said, why such an amount of money? And they explained, they said, look, the current insecurity, not the current, because the insecurity in Nigeria has drastically reduced. We are going to bring in artificial intelligence to man our borders.
It's about time.
To man every square inch, every square kilometer of our land. And that is something Nigerians will be proud of. Meaning, our farmers will go to the farm and till. And right now, that is already happening in Nasarawa State, where they are cultivating over 10,000 hectares of rice farm. When the president said they are going to ramp up petroleum products production, crude oil, to about 2 point something million barrels per day. It is as a result of this budget allocated to defense and security, which meaning every pipeline vandalism, every crude oil theft in our water, in our Niger Delta, will be nailed to the board for us to have that leeway. And that is equally something for the National Assembly to hold the executive to account. So when they propose to us that this is what they want to do, we said, good and fine. We are going to hold you to account to make sure you equally realize what you have said you are going to do. Don't also forget, the executive is not just one arm of a nation and the legislature one arm of a nation. No. All of us are working in kaput, in synergy, to see to it that Nigeria becomes what it should be. So we in the House cannot sit aloof and just watch the executive implement policies that are not working, what we see that are not working. No, we don't need to wait. That is where our oversight responsibilities function kicks in automatically. During our MTEF, medium-term expenditure framework, we invited all the revenue-generating agencies in their numbers, and all of them surpassed the target we set for them in 2024 budget. And we have set a new target for them in 2025, and they are still going to surpass it because we have seen the number, we have seen the figures, we have seen the drive, we have seen the motivation. There is no way the budget of 2025 will not be met as a result of the intervention of the National Assembly.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Now let's take it now to the tax reforms and the other bills you talk about. Now, is it possible to increase the tax base and ensure compliance without economic constraints on the citizens?
First, if we still have time, I would like to break from what I have read and what has been presented to the National Assembly, which I am a member, not just a member, an interested member.
Okay.
The tax reforms, they are basically 4 bills. The first one is Nigeria's Tax Bill 2024. And this bill seeks to consolidate various tax laws. Right now, we have various tax laws across the 36 states, including FCT.
Okay.
Which, if you move from Abuja to Calabar, you have a different tax rate. You move from Calabar to Akwa Ibom, you have a different tax. So this new tax bill or reform wants to unify all that as one nation. The second one is tax administrative bill, which is to improve tax administration. This is actually where a lot of controversies has been generated. Now you are talking about increasing the tax base. The current tax bill does not intend to increase the tax bill as it is in the head of many Nigerians. Rather, they are increasing the tax holidays to Nigerians. For example, when this if this new tax bill is implemented, over 90% of the population will be exempted from all tax. That is what the tax bill seeks to achieve. Then the tax bill also seeks to equalize the imbalance, the atrocities that were embedded in the sharing formula of VAT, value added tax.
Okay.
That is what the tax bill equally seeks to achieve. You've heard some people say initially it was headquarter based, blah blah blah. Now they are moving to consumption based, and the 60% allocated to the derivation should not be 60%. But they have forgotten the fact that if you look at Nigeria, Nigeria is basically north-south, and the north has 3 geopolitical zones. The south equally has 3 geopolitical zones. Okay. Combine the entire states in the north, there are 19. If you add FCT, which is Abuja, it becomes 20. Put the total population in the north together, they are close to 120 million. And if the new tax bill says that let VAT sharing be based on consumption of the location where things are consumed, who do you think will benefit more? Let's take for an example, an average northerner in the north spends 2,000 naira to eat, which could be more, 2,000 naira a day. If you multiply 2,000 naira times 120 million Nigerians in the north, that will give you 240 trillion naira. 200 in a day. 240 billion naira worth of consumption in a day. Now, what are these consumption? Are they not building houses in the north? Are they not buying cement? VAT will be paid. Are they not making calls in the north? If a child of 1 day old is not making call, the dad is making call on behalf of that child. The father is making call. The brothers are making calls. So this is where the VAT will go to. And if you multiply that 240 billion naira times 30 days, which is in a month, that takes you to 7.2 trillion naira in a month generated as a result of VAT in the north alone. Who stands to benefit? Then, if you take the sharing formula that the new tax bill proposed of to 55% of VAT generated that goes to the state and 45% goes to other states, 55% of that will give you 3.96 trillion naira. Divide that by the total number of states in the north, which is 20. Each state should be going on with 118.8 billion naira per month. I stand to be disputed with these facts.
Honorable Jimbo, well, apart from the figures you've reeled out, which are really voluminous, I would like you to respond to issues that has to do with the dissenting voices. You know, when this bill came to both the houses, the National Assembly, there were persons, lawmakers, who stood in opposition to it. Some were in support. And you could see that there were ethnic colorations to the interpretations they gave to the tax reform bills. Some were of the opinion that it is going to favor a certain region against the other. And to what extent has these issues been addressed? Or is it still in the process of being addressed?
No, it has been addressed. That is why we that are enlightened, that equally understand the merits and the effort of government in rebuilding this nation, we need to be up and doing and up and running. It is true that some people can read but don't understand. It is true that some people can read also, but they cannot comprehend. That is why the chairman of the tax reform taken time and again to sensitize Nigerians. We as a parliament, we have invited him, and he has shed light. We have asked questions on those gray areas. But let me tell you, anybody that says he's not in support of the bill, can he also point out a section, a clause, a statement in the bill that he is not uncomfortable with? You will simply see, as some people will say, I reject the bill, it's not in favor of the North. But what section of the bill that is not in favor of the North? Simply because somebody, maybe his governor or his emir or somebody superior who sponsored his election into the National Assembly has told him, look, don't support that thing. And that completely paralyzed his medulla oblongata from thinking independently for himself, to the detriment of even his region. I have realized out. The bill seeks to liberate all the length and breadth of Nigeria to be equal. For example, 2 months ago, Lagos State alone, what they got from VAT was over 200 billion naira, one single state. Meanwhile, what Abia State got, which is about 1 hour from here, was less than $1 billion naira. Is that equality? The president has seen these lapses. I said, no. Every state should have enough resources to develop. Do not also forget, in the National Assembly, we in terms of constitutional amendment for state policing. So the president is thinking ahead. Let us make provision for monies available for state policing when it takes up for them to have enough money to fund the police and fund the judiciary. When we talked about federating unit, this is true federalism we are talking about. Okay. Do not also forget, we have delisted train station, rail lines from exclusive list. It is in the concurrent list, where state governors can equally fund rail lines in their state. So where will they have money to fund rail dance if they don't have? So federal government is saying, what you consume in your state, let that be retained in your state for you to have enough money to fund the budget. Don't forget also, federal government increased the minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000. That is over 100 and something percent. States are complaining they can't pay. And federal government is saying, let's give you more money through this bill. And you are saying no. Are you thinking right? Obviously no.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. This is actually an eye-opener because before now a lot of people were thinking the tax base is actually going to be increased, but you just explained that there's a reduction. Yes. And now most of the people that are actually concerned about these new policies and reforms are the low-income earners. Please put their mind to rest with a very good explanation.
No, very clear. The new bill before the National Assembly says, if you are earning a salary of 1 million naira and below, you are exempted from all forms of tax. You are not paying. It was not like that. It's not what is currently in existence. So the new bill will exempt, if you are earning 1 million naira and below, you are not paying any tax. And the group of people that falls into this category are 90% of the population.
True.
Take 90% of 220 million, you will know the number. Now, the new tax bill is equally saying, if you are running a company and the turnover of that company is 25 million and below, if you are running a company 25 million and below, the return, you are exempted from tax. But the new bill says, let us increase it. If your turnover is 50 million and below, you are exempted, meaning that many sole proprietorship, many small businesses will have more money to spend and move their business upward without necessarily being bothered by tax. Thirdly, you see this idea when you drive a road, if you are bringing your agricultural product maybe from Akam or wherever to Kwai, you see some people with nails and stick throw into your tire and so you should pay. Such thing will be eliminated completely. That is what the new tax bill will. That is where the tax abutment is coming in. Okay. So there is every good thing embodied in this tax, and everybody should accept it. So
unknowingly, this is actually economic security for the low-income earners.
Absolutely.
Okay. Honorable Jimbo, just before we let you go, let's talk with the issues of the Niger Delta region. Now, lawmakers within this region, and talking about 2025, how to ensure that this region benefits more and begins to live up to the expectations. I mean, this is considered as the hub where most of the wealth that Nigerians enjoy come from. Now, what would you hope to see happens in 2025 amongst lawmakers in the Niger Delta region when you talk about synergy, when you talk about being able to make those laws that would favor the Niger Delta region and push us, propel us to those heights that we're supposed to be naturally?
Absolutely. Thank you for this very question. In the National Assembly, especially 10th National Assembly, especially those of us from the South, we have a caucus, we have a meeting. When the president proposed the coastal route, it didn't get to Akwa Ibom State. We made a case. And right now, that road will get to Akwa Ibom State and even get to Cross River State. So when we saw the dilapidated state of Calabar, Odukpani, Uyo Road, we said no. Members of the National Assembly from Cross River State and from Akwa Ibom State, we jointly sponsored a motion, all of us, that in the 2025 appropriation, enough resources should be channeled into the construction of that road to the companies, and they have been heeded to. Thirdly, one I can guarantee you that will happen in the first quarter of this year is that South Development Commission will be established, and it's going to happen in Akwa Ibom State, alongside the Niger Delta Development Commission. So that is equally bringing more development to the region. Okay. So there is so much that we are cooking, which I expect Nigerians to still be patient with us, especially with Clement in the house. It will not be escaped from my eyes. Well, we will bring it to the fore.
You just use this opportunity now to clear up the issue of the South Development Commission and the NDDC. Absolutely. So they're going to be working in alignment.
Yes, absolutely. No, NDDC is going to exist. Nothing happens to NDDC.
I think that conversation is going to really stretch if we were to delve into it. But it is really an eye-opener.
I guarantee you, NDDC is an establishment of the law, the parliament, and it has not been repealed. And right now, I'm telling you confidently that before the first quarter ends, the South-South Development Commission will be established and the headquarters will be in Akwa Ibom State.
Indeed, we'll revert to you, Clement Jimbo, to bring us more clarity
When this happens. It has already been passed, both House and Senate.
Okay.
We are just waiting for the president to sign. So I'm very sure of what I'm saying.
All
okay,
right.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Representing Abakikai, Tumebo Federal Constituency, Honorable Clement Jimbo. Thank you very much for making our time to speak with us, Niger Delta, today.
Please,
We're really grateful.
Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Well, there you have it, a conversation with Clement Jimbo, a member representing Abak, Tumebo Federal Constituency of the House of Representatives, giving us insight into what is expected in 2025, the policies of government, and of course the poisonous of lawmakers in the Niger Delta region in ensuring that this region beams with hope and reaches its destination. Well, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll take you straight to the Christmas park. Just stay tuned.
The global business is never static. Watch the market report on ADBN TV for business information, latest happening, business deals, government economic policies, stock, crude oil and commodity trading, financial upstick and downstick, and the world of organized private sector. The market report showing on ADBN TV 1 to 2 p.m. Monday.